Maybe. Well, I feel like, why aren't you teaching anymore, Rabbi? I've been up very early, and I also figured out something.
If you want to really get high minutes, you have to be you have to concentrate. You can ask any question in the chat, or in the chats. So here, ask, hopefully it will be clear. So let's get started. It's like 60 minutes. I will just have, before we get started,
I think we've seen this before. So before we start, I've got a good project going, and I need the time. What the fuck? So it's the 28th of Adar, 5786, Tuesday, March 17th. And the one thing we will do, because I want to try to get the calendar or the timeline memorized, is 3760, year 1, creation, birth of Adam and Eve, Chava. I'm going to continue the program, but because I think this is kind of a cool thing. Let me think how else I could program this bad boy for some other stuff too. So we're going to launch this now.
Sheer higher Kabbalah course in 16 minutes. So focus, close the camera windows, close the chats, the TikToks, is not this page. If you want to really get the entire Kabbalah course in 16 minutes, you have to be quiet, you have to concentrate. So you want in the chats or looking at the chats. So if anything unclear, ask, hopefully it will be clear and entire Kabbalah course in 60 minutes. Before we get started, I'm actually quite excited to dress up. Why did I dress up in my ring? Well, I'll tell you why. And the reason is today, for the first time actually, ever in all of history, we're having Zoom, exclusive Zoom gathering immediately after this live session. So all of our public members are join this session on Zoom, broadcasted anywhere else, only on Zoom for public students. So you're welcome, students, and you've probably already got an email about it. If you haven't and you're not sure, then you can contact info@connect.com. Rachel will post any questions. And if you want to become a public member, you can also do that. You can still join the session today. And you'll find the link in the chat as well to become a public member. So without further ado, let's get started. Let's jump into our time of the last course. So let's start off. Right, so let's start with what it's not Judaism, it's not some tarot card, mystical method, or philosophy. The wisdom of Kabbalah is designed to discover the forces. That's basically, that's the wisdom of Kabbalah. Right, so imagine, let's say flight, for example. The laws of physics, they're always existed, right? No one invented the laws of this law, the law is now with these laws, discovery of the fourth standing can also be revealed. So the spiritual are hidden forces of the spiritual. And the wisdom of Allah is a method to learn, to study, to reveal, to connect, to unlock these forces. Again, along with that, additional ability is a wider perception of reality. Talking just about understanding about developing the spiritual sense, an additional sense to the five senses that you have. The sense, sometimes we call it the sixth sense, but it's not really accurate because definitely that it's the same level of sense as another sense, but it's not completely different level, and it taps into the frequency of reality and gives us deep understanding of the forces of everything. Our past, our present, our future, everything that's happened to us, not just in this life, but also in previous lives, everything that will happen to us. It's basically looking at the future. Alright, so looking for dots. Now, can you make meaning of these four dots? Can you connect them? Can you understand what they mean? So, okay, if you measure maybe structures and things like that, these four dots, okay, how you look at them. If you're looking on a two-dimensional view, then your eye can build some kind of shape. But if these four dots can actually resemble something that's completely different, being the prints of the legs of the table. And suddenly, from a higher perspective, then these same four dots that had maybe some random or some meaning to them. You can start telling yourself stories about these four dots, that they're this, they're that, they make this structure, they're distance, and you can make up all kinds of things are correct of this level, but they're completely right. If you rise to a higher dimension, then suddenly you have tools to look at it from a completely different perspective, and you can make sense of it. You can't even explain try explaining the table in the 3D world to other two-dimensional world. Pretty much impossible, right? And so that is the method to rise not from the two-dimensional but from the real world. So, any questions? Questions? And if not, then we're going to lesson number 2. Okay. So, need to know the Torah, and what we say the spiritual role of the fourth dimension. These questions to cover up. Lesson number 1, there is one precondition to studying the Kabbalah, and it's not age related or religion related or gender related. It's actually related to one thing, and that is your studying the Kabbalah. Either it's a higher level of you. However you interpret that sentence, anyone, that means that you are saying studying So if you want to know driving force why more connections to something that's higher than this world. Yeah? Okay, another quick question. Can you give an example for the hidden what is meant by that? So you give an example of this one. Centuries ago, microscopes, and no one knew that bacteria existed because we didn't have the right microscope to observe them. We didn't have microscopes. And then when the microscope was invented, and I can identify now that is bacteria not in existence. No, it does not mean that anymore. It means that we were lacking the tool to observe it. For example, my favorite one, you've probably heard of it before. And
This is Dave. He wanted this bitch. Happy Jack Chick.
So
Apologies, my man. I hope everything's going well.
maybe you're not, I'm not. Well, it's simple. There is
But if not, something other was good, man.
Take the radio that you have, switch on the knob, tune into the right frequency, bam. It's already here in the room. The radios are in the room, and I hear them. I don't have to go. So we are surrounded by everywhere. Frequencies that's the right tap in. Wisdom of Kabbalah that helps us develop this radio device so we can calibrate to tune in. Just like we tune into the radio, also tune in to the spirit, so to speak. I hear as well the radio example. They're on a different level. But like with the radio example, if we have the right tool, we can let's move on to lesson number 2, seconds related to the next lesson. So that was lesson number 1, what is a lot. Let's hop into lesson number 2, which is okay. So lesson number 2. So where did it come from? Where did I come from? What is the origin of us reality? Right, all of these are valid questions. I mean, if you look at the nature, and this is actually what I thought. I thought that everything is random. Actually, my wife is talking about how we each found, this walk search for us. And for me, it was just randomness. That's how I thought. I was raised in a Jewish religious 13, and I started questioning my reality, like I'm sure many of you have and are doing. And my conclusion was, there is no purpose. There is no kind of upper force or anything like that. Chaos. And then, how can it be that there's such amazing systems? I thought, okay, by chance, what are the chances that this will develop onto, billions? So fine. 1 to a billion, infinite time is down to happen. What happened? So what are we all getting excited about? So that's what I thought. And then I heard the explanation go up. Well, you might be amazed how it all began. Let's take a look and see how it all started. Okay, so it actually started with the thought of what? Of a force, let's call it light. It's been given many names over the centuries, over millennia. God, Creator, Hashem, all kinds of things. Based on to us, then constructed. And it's the ultimate force of love, fulfillment, perfection. And this light wanted to, its nature is force is given. So it created something that's opposite. So what is the opposite of something that is the ultimate force of giving? It's an ultimate force of receiving. This creation, like vessel in Hebrew, it was a process here of 4 phases that we're not going to get into now. It's not part of this 5 minute semester. But basically, just in a nutshell, it went through a process of 4 stages of the light. Biblically, we want to become like the light, and figuring it out that it can only receive, so if it doesn't intention to bestow, it will become like the light. And then by doing that, it reached the status of the light, and as if it was something. And it was the moment that like the king wishing. This is the process of formation of. So these are the 4 phases. I'm not going to detail this now, so it's not the questions about this specifically. This is covered in the next course, the next 5-week course, that maybe we'll cover in another 60 minutes. So basically, this entire process is the process of creation. Now, in the beginning, you can look at it like this. The light and the vessel were in a state of complete perfection. Like an embryo in the womb. Alright, so this is A, this is B. And in state A, the light and the vessel were in complete perfection. They were as one, like an embryo in the womb.
You abandon Israel. What else is more? You motherfuckers wouldn't know your ass from a hole in the head. Really? Very good.
It's protected. It's in a perfect state. So this is the first stage. This is the state. It's the light, clear, vessel, in a state of perfection. Now, you can say, okay, that sounds great. What happened? What happened? So, what happened was that there was something missing in the state. And there's something that was missing in the state, which is this one. And what was missing actually? Try and guess what was missing. Like the chat what was missing. Write it in. And I'm sure many of you got this right. What was missing was we had everything in this first stage except for independence. That's it. In order to actually reach the desired state of light, to give the ultimate form of fulfillment to the creation. That's the purpose of creation, and don't let any other one or method tell you otherwise. The purpose of your existence is to receive ultimate fulfillment. Only not through our current vessels. It's actually become of the notice every time you get fulfilled. The pleasure cancels the fulfillment cancels the pleasure, right? It's like this bug in the system. And this bug is pushing us to a higher level of interaction with that force, with a different kind of intention, let's say. That different kind of intention changes everything. It changes the way you're way, wisdom of Kabbalah. Here, so the wisdom of Kabbalah, in Hebrew, this is Kabbalah, the word Kabbalah in English. Kabbalah, what it actually means is perception. That's what it means. If you go to a store and buy something in Israel, then you get a Kabbalah, you get a receipt. That's what the word means, Kabbalah. All the wisdom is a method that teaches you how to live correctly in order to perfect state, mention, vessel, and light. And in order to reach that state, the light distance itself over a process 125 degrees until it reached the minimum form of connection, which is called a thin light in the kings. What we were left in is this one. Now, this process is also called the shattering. Now, I know the word shattering kind of fits into the feeling of this world. Like we're shattering reality. Shattering all perception, connection, humanity, where we're going. It all seems shattered, right? It seems like this world has something shattered to it. The reason is because in fact, result on shattering. And all we have to do is to climb back up 125 degrees. And it's the same 125 degrees that are here right now. The same levels that this force conceals itself from us are the same levels needing to climb back up. That's why when a Kabbalist climbs back up the states, also notice the Lord of creation, because he replicates the exact same process of climbing back up through the 125 degrees. That is also why Kabbalists can describe on a scientific level what exists in every one of these degrees, how these forces interact with each other, and how the tensifirot are built. The tensifirot, which are the building blocks of everything around us in reality, every degree builds the structure of the drug. That's why Kabbalists they study of the tensifirot for 3,000 pages of technical. It's like a technical manuscript. It seems so. In fact, it's not. It seems so technical, as if non-spiritual. But it's like a technical manuscript that explains the technical structure of the desire, the vessel, the mind, the states, everything, how they interact, and it could be even, boring to an extent if you do not attain what it talks about, because it's basically laying out the instructions. But if you attain what it talks about, then it becomes life, something like a life. Like Harry Potter books, become life. So that's the study of the spiritual kind of looking at the structure that comes to life. It's the attainment of everything that was surrounded. Okay, so going back to the title of lesson 2, get back on that. How did it all start? It all started with thought, creation, and it's leading us back to that same conclusion. The only difference is that we need to reach it in creation. You might ask me how. We'll get to that in a second. Alright, so the thought of creation is very beginning. State A and state C are identical states. They're states of the light, the vessel, being the top, in complete connection and harmony in a state of ultimate. The only difference is that we need to climb back consciously from state B to state C. Our fact already here. That's where you are right now. Already stable. What we're doing, state B to C, is changing example of the radio. It's already here. I'm surrounded by it everywhere. It's around me. I just don't have a device right now to hear it. And if I get this device, if the radio is not playing, the knob is feeding to my frequencies. Does that mean that this phone is static the whole time? It means that now I develop a tool that can help me perceive this state. And that is exactly what already and there's a point he made that actually feels that what I'm saying is real. Because all the spark that is pulling us from this state up to the third state. We all have a spark, right? Some people, all of humanity has a spark because it's built in. Creation is built into what we are. If we're shattered pieces of this collective state, of this corrective state, then we all have a piece. In some, in others it's not. If you're interested in the steps of spiritual awakening, you can check out the session that we had last week. I'm sure I put in the chat. 5 mind-changing steps of spiritual awakening, which explain in detail the whole process of awakening. Now, what we need to know is that we're already there in that state, and so, one question, next time. Specifically, if you have questions about this part, this is supposed to be great. On the question so, Draw Carolina is asking, that becoming yes, that in a way becoming the discoverer of your higher self. That's why, if you're in Copy, they say that you kind of logo their tagline is unlock a higher level. Because these higher level exists in each habit. And what we're doing is we're unlocking different parts of our perception that are in fact preventing us from seeing this. So you're discovering your higher self. Question. Tony, if reality is based on one perception of the world, how does one change their perception? Right? And one of the lessons we're going to cover today is about that. If you just joined us recently, we're doing 60 minutes, a full entire Kabbalah course. So we're up to lesson 2. Actually running a little behind on time, but I think we'll make it. Okay, so we're up to lesson number 2. We're talking about how we began and where we're headed. Sandra is asking, do only humans have a in the heart? How about animals? Good question, Sandra. Animals are actually, all of nature, still vegetarian and animate, are all already in the correcting state. They don't need to correct anything. They're part of the system of nature itself. The only thing that needs to change the perceptions of human beings. Because your reasoning animals follow their instincts, and their instincts are natural because they're harmonious with their environment. Human instincts are egoistic, and they are destructive to the human environment. Okay, you sense the see another world for happiness. We'll have to develop it and find out. Kabbalah, say having trust that you feel that what they're saying is correct, but in fact you should strive to find out, to discover it yourself. Until you don't taste it, then it's all philosophy, right? It's all just imagining what it's like. It's like a bunch of blind people talking about what the color of food is like. We can do that theoretically, it's all theoretical, it's also philosophical. So in reality, it's a lot like talking about philosophy, totally about
I don't know if I'm else
in
is.
a sense. Okay, moving to lesson number 3. Three. Alright. So lesson number 3 titled is okay, here it is. Lesson number 3. Right one. Half of pain versus half of light. So what does it mean? Half of pain versus half of light. So let's quickly read it. Lesson 1, the wisdom of Kabbalah. What is it? It's a method that can help you develop to tap into the spiritual frequency and hidden frequency that is the driving force of reality. That's the wisdom of Kabbalah. Lesson number 2 all started from thought, from thought of creation, all of that. Don't get confused with anything religious. These terms sound confusing. We sometimes refer to it as a creator. In fact, it's nothing like names that you've learned most likely in childhood and private religions. Any religion. It's something else, so think of it more as a force of nature. It's like an outer force that is on a higher level that you're making up to see around us as a result where no consequences. And there is a world of causes like the control of reality. So all we need to do is we need to climb back up to that state. Now, half of pain versus half of light is talking simply about the process through which we climb. So imagine this. Imagine that smaller. Let's imagine that we can go through this here, through these 125 degrees. We can go through pain, and we can go through light. Now, what does that mean? It means that each and every one of us, this goes both to the individual and to the collective, we have what's called in Kabbalah a ratio. Now, I find that the most accurate translation, there really is no translation for this in English, but I think it's most accurately described as if it's like a registry, right? It's like a registry that holds in it information. That's what it is. And it holds information of all the states, past, present, and future. And within this registry, everything that you ever experienced, and I'm not talking just about in your current life, because these spark skills that you have inside of you that's pulling you to discover something higher is in fact eternal. And when I say eternal, I mean that it actually came from here. That's where it came from. It didn't come a year ago, it started asking these questions 10 years ago, or it awakened, and it started having, like, as it started, but that's it. So it started fasting, it started thinking, right? But actually, it just awakened. Now, why did it awaken? Right now, it actually has to do with the ratio. So every one of these states is, in fact, how can this future state always be in existence? Because spirituality is about time and space. When we're talking about this level over here, we're talking about a process that is above limitations of this world as we see it. Plus, we've already know today from science, the whole theory of relativity, that even time isn't exactly what we think it is. It's actually very different. So you can travel really, really fast, getting closer to the speed of light. Travel for a year in space, come back to Earth, and 1,000 years in space. Right? Interestingly, we say that everything is spiritual world. So interestingly, that this law of relativity is talking about coming closer and closer to the speed of light. Of course, the spiritual root of that principle is simply coming closer and closer, not to the speed of light, but to the light itself. And as we do become light and rise above the reality, this will rise to a reality which is above time and above space. Pretty cool. So all of these things are already in existence. Now, nature is pushing you to evolve these things. And whether you like it or not, there isn't much you can do about it. Meaning, maybe embryo in the womb is developed. Can't stop it. Unless there's some disaster and everything that's planned, it'll happen. It evolves. And it has in it also pleasure and pain, etc. Now, we are, you could even say awakening, is pointing us to a higher level of reality. And this higher level, we're no matter what. The question is, are we pulling us towards the future state we are already in? Or are we not? If we are always advancing through attracting this light, through aspiring to develop from one degree to the next, aspiring to rise from this world, the spiritual world, if we're always aspiring for the light, then we develop what the light path forward we want. What does it mean? It means that we always want to. It means that we're consciously bringing ourselves into balance, because all pain is black and white. In fact, any sense of pain experience on the deepest, most fundamental level, to the silliest and simplest things, all it is black and white. And when you consciously evolve through attracting this light, which is as well as how to attract this
If
light,
you're not following this,
consciously
you know.
evolve towards light, advanced to the path of light, which is a pleasant, painless path. That's the path of light. The path of pain is like being a stubborn little kid that doesn't want to do their homework. There's no choice, the homework has to be done. Now, the path of pain is not the state of advancing. You can't advance to the path of pain. It's just like you can't, if you want to get your kids to do their homework, they're not doing it, and you want to put in some kind of incentive. So you might create something
That's amazing. Though.
the pain.
That little robot I created is fucking amazing.
It just pushes them to do their homework. So the action itself isn't acquired, isn't achieved by the pain. Pain is just
Pretty
pushing
brilliant
us
too.
to
Two
advance in
robots
life.
working at once. Fucking brilliant.
And I'm sure that you experience it yourself. You've seen it around you. Pain pushes us to search, pushes us to find it. And humanity on the whole, also us on the individual level, all experience some kind of pain. That if this pain is pushing us to evolve first, if you think of it like growing, other phrases rather than getting into the use of these certain form of pain. But if you advance what we call path of light, if your advancement is it's sweet, it's mitigate, it's like making an effort which is painful, but knowing what your purpose for it is and then moving through it becomes sweet. Right? Plus, advance through this path of light, not the path of pain, basically bringing yourself into balance, changing your perception. So you might ask,
Did it
okay, so if
stop?
I go through the path of light, then will I still experience the same
No, I bet you're still working.
positively? The answer is no. No, it's not. If you advance to a path of light,
It's like you got
you're
reversed.
advancing a different level of perception of reality. It's difficult to explain and understand because we're talking about this layer of perception, but everything that you perceive
It's okay though, it's fucking brilliant.
your perception of reality. So if you change that perception, your reality changes. You might say, okay, but what? See everything differently? Yes, see everything differently. Take on glasses, for example, people out there with different glasses that have a different lens, and these darker glasses, and then if I put these on, and then see everything. So if you change your lens, you will not experience the same reality and just justify it saying, okay, this means no, experience reality differently. You'll experience it from a different perspective. So that was lesson 3, path of pain was path of light. Now, this is already bringing us into the next lesson, lesson number 4 out of 5, which is, okay, so if everything that we experience as pain is the result of how we perceive reality, and it's lack of light, then what's this perception of reality? How do we perceive reality? Right? So we go to lesson number 4, which is perception of reality. I don't really have to show the text, but okay, fine. Yeah. Lesson 4, perception of reality. Okay, so let's just continue exploring unfold everything through this. So we're advancing through this process. In fact, like I whispered to you before, if you remember, a long time ago, 3 of these lessons ago, I whispered to you that you are already extent. So why do you feel that? The answer is because of the way you perceive reality. So, in short, you can think of yourself like a black box. And this box has 5 openings. Right? These openings, well, they're not really openings, in fact. They're actually filters. That's our 5 senses, obviously. Smell, touch, taste, see, hear. And what we experience, and this is science, it's not even spirituality. We experience something that's outside of us. So there's something outside, it goes through your eye, and then your mind, your brain interprets it and paints a picture of reality. There's a study that found that if you insert the lens into your glasses, you'll see everything upside down. That's not research. That's just, optics. Research shows that if you wear these glasses for 3 days, you start seeing reality straight. If you take off the glasses, then everything will be upside down. Well, okay, so we're trying to go through the reality. The answer is no. The answer is we don't know what reality is. We only know what we perceive with our senses. And what's outside is the question. Right, so it's pretty mind-blowing saying it like these last minutes actually means that you know what you're outside of us. You're in front of a computer or your phone. It's just some form of energy. We don't really know what it is. It's like an illusion. just drawn to us by our senses. Ask a fish, how does a fish perceive reality? Does it say the same reality as you? Probably not. So reality is you see the correct reality. It's on a spectrum. You can imagine it like this. So the fish. So we're not up here. Up here, I mean. So we're nowhere there. Where? Here. And there's a whole spectrum of reality that we're just not perceiving. And the reason why we don't perceive the spectrum of reality is simple. It's because we don't have the right tool, like we said before. Now, what is that right tool? Very simple. It's attention. What is attention? Okay, so like this. The hardware of this mechanism, of this box of five senses, the hardware, the matter that it's made from, is the will to see. That's all it is. The will to see. The desire. And that's not good, it's not bad.
That is shit again.
All that was all. Now, upon that desire, there is also a software. Now, the software that we are in currently is the intention. So the intention is the software. So the intention that we currently have is in order to receive. That's the intention that we currently have. Everything that we receive, even what we give, is order to receive. So we do what fulfills us. That's the fundamental law of our current existence. And the question is, I don't agree, but I'm guaranteed if you think about it, you find that every action that we do is something driven by that calculation. How can I receive joy to pleasure? And what we need to change it to is the same desire, which is also true sin. That cannot change, because that's the only thing that was created. So that same desire, in order to receive, it needs to change its intention in order to give. That's it. The switch of the intention is unlocking reality. Alright? So that was lesson number 4. This is how we perceive reality. Perceive through filters, which are our 5 senses. And all that's missing is changing that intention, and the action of changing that intention is in fact developing 6 sense link to different layers. It's not one of these 5 senses, it's a completely different layer, but it's like a 6 sense. And the 6th sense is the development of the intention. Intention is what it's meant. Now you probably claim it now and say, okay, so if I, let's say, receive something like a gift from someone, and I receive it and say, okay, I don't care about the gift, I'll receive it for them, for their sake. So you're getting closer, but you're still calculating the absolute pleasure of the method. It's still not breaking that equation. This is a psychological switch. It is on a certain level that it's what's rooted in there is a much higher internal change that doesn't limit or change anything on your corporeal material level of as well, but adds an additional layer. That's why when you study Kabbalah, you don't have to change it externally. Your job is not changing it. You need to add this internal layer that you work changing that intention. So that is how it works. Now, how do we change that intention? That's the question. That's lesson number 5. Right? So lesson number 5 is week. So that those few words I put in the mind that returns to us. We were in a good state, like state A, B, and C. To climb back up to that state. How do we do it? How do we change our perception? There is something beautiful. Voila. Amazing. I love it. I'm sure you love it too. Concept is called mind. Returns to sometimes it's a lot that so, you know how all these New Age, a lot of New Age methods, they have like a law of attraction, think positive, etc. They're actually not new at all. They're rooted in the wisdom of Kabbalah. And they're rooted in this principle that let's keep going. Okay, so when you're in this state and in state B, let's so you're here. I know you only have 6 minutes left. That would be just enough to finish lesson number 5, last lesson. Now, crash course, like that expense. So you're here in this world, and you're not satisfied by it. You were here. Want something. Now you want something. Let's call it this. Okay, so how do you reach the spiritual goal? How do you change your intention? How do you change your perception? Basically, if you go over the lesson that we talked about, you'll see it's all the same thing. It's different aspects. It's changing the way we interact with these places. That's the thing. Right, so how do we do this? There is something that's called a light that reforms. So light reforms goes like this. You're in this state, in this world, and there is already a perfect state, right? We call it state. Now, in this perfect state, already exists, already in complete perfection, connected to this entire network, everything and everyone, perfect harmony, perfect state. Now, if you aspire for this state, if you want to reach it, that's it. You want to reach it. How simple is that? If you want to reach that state, what happens is you're attracting upon yourself light from that state that you want to achieve. Simple. It's the light that returns to you. This light lifts you and brings you closer to that state. To that final corrected you want. Now, how do you reach it? How do you want to reach it? Why does the right want to reach it? Well, luckily, Kabbalists discovered 3 main tools. Tool number 1 is teacher. You have to have a teacher. Which is you need someone to guide you. Without a teacher, it's like getting sick and then studying to become a doctor and treat yourself. You can theoretically do that. One time and you might die. So a teacher accelerates time, guides you how to do this. Number 2, books. When I say books, I mean authentic Kabbalistic books. I don't know what books out there are authentic. There are thousands of them. All I know that the books that we have in Kabbalism, in Info, they are authentic. For them, I can judge. Anything that's outside of there, I don't know. So that's number 2. Now, why books? Because when you read an authentic Kabbalistic book, the Kabbalist that wrote that, he didn't write about this world. He wrote a book about the spiritual world. And even though it seems that it's word talking about this reality, there isn't a single word in the Kabbalistic text that talks about this reality. Right? So, talking about this book over here, so you're reading a book. You're reading the authentic text. When you read it, you want to connect to the spiritual state the Kabbalah wrote about. You want to be there with him. You want to rise to that level. result, higher course. Alright? Okay? That's number 2. Number 3, you need a community. You need not just for psychological support, material, actually not at all for that. It's helpful, but not for that. That's not the reason. The reason is because in this perfect state, it's a state where everything and everyone is already connected. So when you are studying with someone, and even right now in this live broadcast, the fact that you're watching this together, you're even communicating a little bit in the chats, etc. If you want to build this connection between each other, in order to be similar to this state up here, because in this state you are in fact connected, this is probably the most powerful method of life activity. More than this environment. Right? So 3 methods to track the black diamond. So I have 1 minute left, and we're going to recap that 1 minute, the entire course. So lesson number 1, what is the movement of Allah? It's a method to discover the hidden forces of reality, the forces that govern our world. Lesson number 2, we all started with order of creation. Be there. If you want to rise to that level, result is hard. Alright? That's the result. Okay? That's number 2. Number 3, we need a community.
And back to
This though, Rabbanim, just the told, this Talmidim. The Enoch, the able of the Milsa, is the Fina, Shapisu. I want to tell you something, but I'm concerned if I tell it to you, you guys are going to bounce. Guys, Lisu, you go somewhere else. But you have to listen to them anyway. The lower Torah, Bethel, only one Torah, and one Rabbi. Eno, Loas, and Bethel, Yola. What happened? Got up. The husband, I made the Rava, went to learn by the other. All right, let me ask you honest. Self-belief. They go back to here. Continue coming here. Don't stop coming here. In between this year and the next one, just this one is going to cross the street. Love here. I'm a little. I'm a story. It said that this is only the darkest story. Tomorrow, the Rav has a other. The darkest tomorrow is not the year. When we say it comes with the tomorrow, that's the thought process. We have to be able to understand different thought processes. And farm to gate, I would farm to third, so many different ways of seeing it, or you can't look at yourself as one person to do that. However, when it comes to the actual checks of the world, once the text tomorrow, the Rav has a other, one Rabbi, the Asian top of the test of the days, we're looking at this. I'll pause your mind. Pause and continue. Number of times the Barakani life. Olam, the Shalei, Adam, the Mosov, person to survive. Pay his years. So list from the third of his life to run his profession. List additional third of his life to run his job. And list the Talmud, a third of his life to run his Gemara. Gemara says, hold on a second. You are implying that a person knows how long he's going to live. It takes all those years to 5 to 3. All that image, how that diet. Has the person actually got how he's going to live? Or is it not even the real name? The Gemara says, every person wants to have to live for people who live for 400 years. Take on the 45 to 3, you get 40, 80, and then 120. What happens if the person cuts off that, lives 120? It's fine. That's the way it's 80 to 100. You also have this year tomorrow. Where it says, go to history book. Look at Rashi. Rashi says the young. Days Yom because Sunday and Monday you learn this stuff. Days Yom Mishnah. So that's Tuesday and Wednesday to learn this stuff. And then you have Thursday and Friday to learn tomorrow. And get Shabbos according to Rashi to be different from the rest of the week. However, Tosfos says different. You look at Tosfos, he says the Yorel, the Yom B'Cholyo, every single day. We'll have to take to the point Sunday. Sukkot HaTamid. In davening, every single morning, we have Sukkot HaTamid, Sukkot of the Tamid, the Mishnas Ezel B'Chomar, if the Mishnas Ezel B'Chomar, right to the small, or the right to the small, first to daven. Now we consider that we will Mikra, we will Mishnah, and we will Gemara. However, this is very important. Here it is now. The others, those who the Talmud Talmud, we learn Gemara every single day. That's only every single day. What happens? Yair was looking up to us, right? Double the Mikra, the Mishnah, the Talmud, just today. You know how much we learn. Sukkot. You have Hillel, the Mishlei, you have Kayas, we're learning tomorrow. We're learning the theme of tomorrow. Using the opportunity to us to learn. Mikra, Mishnah, and Talmud every single day. That's learning every single day. Some from it, some Mishnah, some tomorrow. So the best to continue, try to continue. But the fear you can be is proof to give in your mind. I'm forever. This fear you can be good later. First, just before later. Later, you can benefit. The later that you come and
we'll finish, but like in the last minute, like something happened with that app. I impressed myself at how versatile I am with fucking technology. I really do. I'm pretty fucking baller. Fuck. Bitch. I love plugging in USBs and listening. It's true. Hmm.
very respected places. I love the Shema. Everybody was in Central was Shayamoga as a Shema was a capital because of them. Because when they had a little national attention, so that keeps on the last national. I love this Shema. Rather than as much as the yes, I should go to some ways for a party like this. So it's a bold massive topic. So it's a good to go to the world by everyone. So when it's happening, we can take people that is on that way. But the enemy is trying to keep the best vision for it to be that is on that way. It's good. It's good. It's good. How do you not have the first part of the second hour and that second hour? And how do you get it? How do you get it? How do you get it? Why do you get it? The thing together is up. You want to, talk about it. This is the thing for how easy it is. It's not going to be the other. However, enjoy the exercise. He says it's the person to go. He calls that the exercise. The early lessons. That's a report that these skills basically shows the resurrection of the dead.
What about this shit?
There's still something flawed in such a busy site. Its host is higher than hello. Nice hello. So open your bed. So that's the position.
Oh wait, yeah, you do something else.
She became even more negative the way she was the way she was even more confrontational with herself. And that was to compromise the public space. The Irish courtship, although not, I would say positive and message felt clearly, although we might see literally again the sin of my fears, wolves around me. I've almost I got that much to talk about in my head. Wolves are real for the first examples I can see in this world. Seeing them for help. Sometimes surround me with the nation judgments. Also, the leadership of the area that help them together. Compromise the peace. Compromise the nonsense. Or the dash is not confident. That's for life. For the doctors. This is happens to me.
I now have to finish. Let's see. All the horses.
They are authentic. For them, I can vouch. Anything that's outside of there, I don't know, so I don't even ask about it. So that's number two. Now, why? Because when you read an authentic Kabbalistic book, the Kabbalist that wrote that, he didn't write about this world. He wrote the book about the spiritual world. And even though it seems that it's worded about talking about this reality, there isn't a single word in the Kabbalistic text that talks about this reality. Right? So, talking about this book over here, so you're reading a book. You're reading a book. The authentic Kabbalistic text. When you read it, you want to connect to the spiritual state the Kabbalist wrote about. You want to be there with him. You want to rise to that level. Result, like that. Alright? That's the results. Sorry. Over here. Okay? That's number two. Number three, you need a community. You need not just for psychological support and material level, actually not at all for that. It's helpful, but not for that. That's not the reason. The reason is because in this perfect state, it's a state where everything and everyone is already connected. So when you are studying with someone, and even right now, in this live broadcast, the fact that you're watching this together, and you're even communicating a little bit in the chats, etc., if you want to build this connection between each other, in order to be similar to this state up here, because in this state you are in fact connected, this is probably the most powerful method to light that performance. More than anything, this environment, this community, right? So, three methods to attract light that performance. So, I have 1 minute left, and I'm going to recap in that 1 minute the entire course. So, lesson number one, what is the wisdom of Kabbalah? It's a method to discover the hidden forces of reality, the forces that govern our world. Lesson number two, it all started with a thought of creation, a force that is entirely a force of giving that created the opposite of it in order to be able to give to it. They were already in a state of perfection, but there was one thing missing: independence of the created being. As a result, light pulled itself away from the created being and left us, quote unquote, in this world. What we need to do is we need to rise back up to that perfected state independently to actually find that we're there all along. Our perception does not enable us to see that. There are two methods of rising in this path: path of pain and path of light. Path of pain is when you resist these forces, you feel them inside, they're pushing you. They want you to evolve. You're being stubborn. You don't want to. The forces of nature naturally are just pushing you to evolve. Like the world now, coronavirus, right? Pushing the world to evolve. Either through pain or through light. That's entirely up to you. How do we perceive the reality that we're in? How do we apply this method? Well, we're in a box of 5 senses that's run on this hardware, which is the will to perceive, that can't change and won't change. What can change is the intention that we use. That's the software planted on the hardware. Currently, our intention is in order to receive. We need to change that with the intention in order to give. So the ultimate state is receiving, because that cannot change, with the intention to give. And changing that small little fragment unlocks everything. How do we do that? The light that returns to it, the light that reforms. The potential energy that if we want it, if we aspire for it, if we are attracted to it, it pulls us up to that state. How do we interact with this energy? A couple of fundamentals. 3 means: 1 is a teacher to guide you, 2 are books not to guide you, but written by Kabbalists, so when you read them you can connect to the spiritual level they were written from. And by doing so, you attract yourself, you bring yourself to that level. And number 3 is community, not for material support or psychological support, but again, because when you connect with like-minded people who also want to evolve spiritually, you begin to resemble the system that you are already in and connected. So when you want to connect with someone who also wants to evolve spiritually, you do that because you want to resemble that system. That's the most powerful thing for this light that returns to God. So that's it. That was an entire Kabbalah course in 60 minutes. Hope you enjoyed it. It's not over yet. We are continuing for our first ever Kabu exclusive Zoom meeting right now, right after this. So if you're in Kabu, I'll see you there. If you're not in Kabu, if you want this teacher, the books, the environment, the community, and you want to be part of Kabu, then you can join. You can sign up now. If you actually sign up right now, then you'll even be able to join the Zoom session that's happening immediately. So if you sign up and you get contacted with the Zoom link, and you can do that. Now, by the way, if you become a Kabu member, you don't only get access to courses and live sessions, an amazing community, and it is amazing. And everything, you're also supporting us in this entire thing. You know, every dollar that comes in from Kabu member, it is reinvested in developing courses, materials, making everything more accessible. It's all invested in spreading light. So if you become a member and you're doing those 2 things, you're getting access to everything in Kabu, and also you're supporting us in this incredible effort in spreading light in the world. So if you've enjoyed the session, click the like button, click the share button. This is actually a good video to share with someone you want to introduce to. Well, let's do that. And signing off, so don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoyed it. And I'm going to sign off now, and we're going to meet in a couple of minutes on Zoom for our Kabu exclusive Zoom session with Kabu students, where you can ask me anything live. You can turn on your cameras, we can be in the same room. You can feel a little closer. So, see you guys there. Thank you very much. I'm Gil Shear. This was Kabbalah Explained Simply. Today we had the entire Kabbalah crash course in 60 minutes. Goodbye.
Peace. Yo, dog. if I do get this, it'll be worth it. So, you go fuck yourself.